Here we are, Heart of the City, Season 2, Episode 5, and we are here today with...
Zoe Salaai.
Zoe Salaai.
That's a dope name.
It is.
Zoe, thank you for being here today. Yep. We're super
stoked. Having me.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. You live in Winston, right?
I do. I live in Winston-Salem. I am originally from Durham, North Carolina. 919, you know what I'm saying?
Nice.
North Side, baby. I grew up in the church deeply. My mom was a pastor. My dad drove trucks, and music has always been just a deeply rooted thing. I went to Winston-Salem State University, representing the HBCUs out here.
Nice, yeah.
Gotta cue it around.
Right.
And I'm the youngest of 3 girls.
Okay.
No way. So,
Yeah, I'm baby girl.
All right. You have 2 big sisters?
I do.
That's what's up.
do they do music too?
The middle one, she has a voice of gold.
Nice.
Yeah. And the oldest one, she was more an athlete.
Cool.
She can dance.
So tell us look, this Eli just sets me up for victory. He already knows the guest, and all I have to do is step on set and get to know a stranger. So it's really easy to ask for me to ask you questions that the audience wants to know as well as myself. What do you do? Do you sing? Do you rap? What is your thing?
I sing.
Okay.
I wish I could rap. But no, it doesn't really come that fast. I can write, but we're not going to be out here doing freestyles.
Nice.
It's going to take me a few seconds.
Okay, wonderful. So you sing. So what is your go-to genre then? Or
R&B, for sure.
Awesome.
R&B soul is definitely where I like to be.
And you said you grew up singing in church? Mm-hmm. Nice.
I was in the choir at 2 years old.
Choir at 2.
So your folks,
words.
You grew up in a musical household. Do they just appreciated music? Do they play music, or does your family
My dad sings.
Okay.
My mom sang too, but it was really more my dad's thing. And my mom was the choir director, and so we just grew up with music being prevalent. As far as instruments go, my dad bought me a guitar.
Nice.
When I was younger, and then my best friend sat on the neck of it and broke it. And he was like, I'm never buying you anything else again. So that was the end of
How long
that.
did you have it for?
Short-lived guitar career.
I probably had that guitar for 3 months, maybe. If that. Yeah, so it really it didn't last long. Yeah, so the only instrument I had was my voice.
I quit piano lessons on 2 separate occasions growing up. My parents had inherited this really cool old school piano that they had off the side of the den, and they were try to get me, and it was cool for the first, until the piano teacher wants you to learn the lessons. Did you come sit down and I didn't do any homework? You're exactly where you were last week, bro.
See,
what are you doing?
We had a piano too, and my middle sister, she knows how to play.
Yeah.
And she actually got her degree in music education too.
Nice.
But me, on the other hand, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That's about as far as we got. Yeah. And I can play that down. You know what I mean?
Right.
I got you. We can do renditions, but that's about it.
Was it ever secular music? Was that ever an issue, or did they want you to just sing just in the church?
I think that as far as my dad goes, so my mom, riding with her, it was straight gospel, right? My dad, riding with him, it was Kim and Zapp and Roger and the Gap Band and Anita Baker, and Luther Vandross was a staple in our household.
Luther.
I mean, so I think that my music naturally is not too bad. It's really not vulgar for real.
Yeah.
And I feel as long as I stay on that happy playing field,
That's a great question. I mean, especially if you come out of, especially musically, if you come out of Christianity or the church, or you started, I started playing at the church, started singing at church.
Yeah.
Then, especially if your family is really heavily involved in the church, it's hard to just be out here talking about, this is my sexy track,
I mean, and you know what? I've written gospel songs, and because I'm very in tune with my faith, I've written gospel songs, and I've written R&B, I've written some country stuff.
Okay.
I've delved into a little bit of everything.
Fun.
But I feel like I will never go too deep in that dark hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would just
Do you still sing in the choir in church?
I don't. I sit and enjoy. Yeah. So the church I grew up in is in Creedmoor, North Carolina, actually.
That's country. I don't know where that's at. Where is that?
Creedmoor?
Yeah.
Creedmoor.
Help me.
Creedmoor is 15 minutes north of Durham.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's like on the way to like Oxford and.
So I was like, I know I've driven through there.
You have. It's only one exit long. I mean, it's about this big. They got a Sonic.
Yeah.
A Sonic.
See?
You know what I mean?
My boy was actually telling me, he's like, yo, you had the Sonic burger? I was like, nah. He's like, what? He said it's really good.
I haven't been to Sonic in years.
No, that's not really.
Me either. But
that's cool though.
That was a staple of like the town. They were like, we got a Sonic. You know,
it was a big deal.
It was a
That's
big
just
deal,
to give you
yeah.
an idea of the scale we're talking about in North Carolina. I like that though. It's like, we got a Sonic.
So
we got somewhere to go, something to do, something to eat.
What brought you guys? Yeah. What brought you guys to Winston?
Winston-Salem State. So when I started school, I just stayed in Winston. And
did you make
really
any
left.
like musical connections that you still keep up with from school?
No, not really. In school, I danced. I was a part of a dance organization on campus called Talented Emotion, TIM. Shout out to y'all. Mm-hmm. But as far as being in the music scene there, not so much.
Were you in a sorority? What did you study?
I was a sports management major, no sororities. Yeah, TIM was the only thing I really did in school besides my major.
Sports management is cool.
It is.
Were you planning on doing physical therapy or being a physical therapist or something?
So sports management is more like the business side of sports, like marketing and
nice.
Things like that. Yeah.
Cool. Do you still see that for your future? Because I could see that.
Younger me thought it would be awesome because I feel like sports, just like music, is one of those things where it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, who you've been in your past. It brings all of us together. Yeah. You know, we all can enjoy that. So
what sports? Like, what are your favorite?
I used to work for the Durham Bulls.
Nice.
So baseball was really, I was like, they make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and listen,
they were in that movie. Oh,
Bull Durham.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene in that movie that's in Greensboro, right behind where it used to be Beef Burger. It's like near UNCG where the smokestacks are. There's a scene in that movie.
That was a very big one.
What used to be
I've
Lee
never
Street.
actually watched it though.
Oh really?
Yeah, but if you go to a Durham Bulls game, they show like the rules for the game. They take an excerpt from the movie, which I think is so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't Drumline supposed to be A&T though too?
It's based on A&T, but instead of it being Greensboro, it's Atlanta.
Right.
Essentially.
Did you always want to go to a HBCU?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. And what's funny is a few of my aunts and one of my uncles actually went to Winston-Salem State. My sister Crystal, the middle one, she went to Winston-Salem State. Some of my other family members, they went to North Carolina Central. So HBCUs just, run deep. Yeah. And Winston-Salem State was far enough from Durham where like my mom couldn't just
pop over.
You know what I mean? But it was close enough to where I could get home if I needed to.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to HBCU. Yeah.
So we were talking previously about like just what you're up to now. You said you do car sales.
Yeah, I sell cars. I know, crazy. I've been doing that for about 3 years now.
You enjoy that?
Yeah, it's something to be able to help people. And I always say I'm not in the business of convincing. I'm in the business of educating. Because the more you know about something, the more that you can make an informed decision about it. Because a lot of people are just chasing something that should never exist, especially in the car world. So I just try to tell people, like, are you sure? Well, what about this?
So you're one of the good ones. You're not a shark.
No, not at all. I can't be. I got to be able to sleep at night, and I tell my customers, congratulations, you're stuck with me for life. And I actually develop relationships with them. So it's important to me to make sure that them and their families are taken care of.
Cool.
Yeah, and I also think as an artist, it's kind of cool to have other ways of making income. Mm-hmm. How do you feel like, you manage, are you still pretty active with your music or managing the two, you know what I mean?
I try to. Yeah. I will say it is difficult with my schedule at work for sure. I mean, and then outside of working at a dealership, I bartend 1 day a week. So I'm working 6 days a week. And
so do you have a musical project that you're currently also working on?
I do.
He asked about the real grind. But what are you doing? What are you doing as far as music is concerned?
So right now, me and Muse, as you know him. We're working on.
Shout out Trevor.
Shout out to Jeff. He just finished producing a song for me called "Son of the Moon," and I'm really excited about it because it's kind of pushing me more into the soul aspect.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that, but I really am looking forward to releasing that in January.
All right.
My biggest thing though is taking my time, and I know this is not like it's more of a business where like you got to be consistent, you got to put it out there, people need to know who you are, but it's also important for me to make quality.
I believe in
over me trying to, you know what I mean? Over me trying to rush things out there, because if I can make something that really resonates with people, whether it's emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is, then that's what matters.
I'm a big believer still in quality over quantity.
And touching the right people with your music, you know what I mean? Like if you change 3 people's life, or you can just be in the abyss. I mean, and it's more powerful if you can touch the right people.
One amazing song is better than albums full of just scrap, B-sides, junk, you know?
And it's supposed to tell a story.
Sure.
Right?
Make you feel some kind of way.
Like the EP that I released last November, it's called Zoe Salaai, and it was literally a love letter of a past relationship and how it went from the top to the bottom. Like it starts off at YFG, I think is the first song, and then it ends at DNR, which is Do Not Resuscitate. Like this is over, this is it.
Right.
So for me, that was a story of what that was, and I think that music is supposed to tell a story, and people are supposed to be able to feel it.
For sure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're good.
Is Salaai like a pen name, a stage name, or is that? I was just curious.
Yeah, so
Zoe Salaai, right?
No, it's a dope name. She
says
it is a dope name. What is that?
So
that's
funny.
why I asked. Yeah.
So my first stage name was actually Sixella. It was a play on my first name. Sixella.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a play on my first name, which is Alexis.
That would be like if you were an American Gladiator.
Wait, I thought you were by Zoe though.
Yeah. So.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So my first stage name, like it was Sixella, and then me and one of my friends, we were just sitting and yapping, and I was like, I want to change this. I don't want 2 names, and we sat there for probably like 2 hours, and Zoe, that name means like more life.
Absolutely,
essentially,
it's Greek.
right?
Zoe. It's come from the Greek word.
It is Greek.
Which mean life. Yeah, it's for real. I'm not trying to be like the in-house Greek or something, but I am.
I'm glad I got that right then. I'm glad I got it right. So it means my life, right? And then Salaai is from what I've
another nationality.
It's an Indian tree that secretes a liquid that's used to produce medicine.
Cool.
And to me, you know, music is medicinal to my life. So
for sure.
I didn't want to just pick a name that was like, oh my God, that's so cute. I wanted it to be meaningful. So that's where that came from.
I like that.
I think one thing is cool about the music is medicine for the artist and the consumer, because like it's like one of the few things that is just so like both sides are so benefiting. Like for me, like going through life, I get to just drop in and be in the moment when I'm creating, and also as a consumer of music, you get the opportunity to connect with someone who all of a sudden can speak to you what you're going through. So like it's medicine, but it's not just like one-sided. I mean, I think being a doctor is medicine too, for like obviously for the patient, and for them. It
makes them feel good.
So, but it's nice that it's a mutual. It should be a mutual thing.
It is, but that's what it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of people resonate with music differently. Like you have people who resonate with lyrics. You have people who resonate strictly off of the production. You have people who just resonate just because of who the artist is.
Right.
I think for me, it's all of them got to come together. It all has to work together for me to be like.
Well, I mean, obviously here we talk about it all the time. We're constantly talking about it, but I think that it needs to be discussed because, like on a day-to-day basis in a normal society, I feel like music and art is just thought of as entertainment. Yeah, and it can kind of be, kicked aside as far as what's important in your daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, quarterly, what we're supposed to be doing, making money, paying bills, what's important. But when you stop and we do what we're doing right now, what is important? Making people feel the way that you felt.
Relationships and community.
Talking about love.
So we were just talking about community.
Yeah.
We met actually last night, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is new.
Yeah. Which is
awesome.
crazy.
Nice.
And also so dope.
Serendipitous.
I think. Serendipitous, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But we did a performance. Shout out my buddy Kenneth, who put together this really cool showcase for artists.
Shout out TD.
Nice.
Poets, instrumentalists,
cool.
And me and my buddy decided to go out there and perform, and that's where we met.
Nice.
And I was just talking about like taking the chance to be on a podcast or connect with other creatives, and how dope that is and powerful, because the community aspect and the healing is like
cool.
Kind of what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is creating space for it to be real.
Yeah.
Because kind of like you said, not a lot of people take people who make music or are instrumentalists or poets or artists or painters. Not a lot of people take them seriously until they see the fruits of the labor. They don't really take it seriously.
Yeah.
So I know recently for me, when somebody's like, I'm like, oh yeah, I finished school and this was what my degree was in, and they're like, oh, well, what do you want to do with that? I'm like, well, I don't know. Yeah. But then they're like, okay, well, what's really your dream? And I'm like, the happiest place for me would be to be in a space that involves music.
Creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to not say that because I'm like, nobody's going to take this serious. Like, they're going to be like, oh my God.
There is a ton of that.
It's a lot of that. And it's a lot of discrediting that.
It's weird how even you get to be an adult. And even for me, I'm a grown-ass man. You get to be an adult and you still feel as if you feel the need to give the 80s yuppie answer. Like, what do you do? It's like, it's almost like, how do you make money? It's like, I don't know. I like the idea of artists getting rid of that stigma. It's be like, I paint.
Yeah, I think.
Or, you know what I mean? Or I sing. Like, oh, you sing? How the fuck do you pay your bills? You know what I mean? It's like, what do you really do?
Because they can be synonymous. Like, there are some starving artists out here. And, I mean, shoot, that would be one of them.
Right.
But I think the hardest part about it, especially, at this stage, is still, just like we were talking about earlier, still pursuing what you love and letting that be the most important part about it. And then everything else will come after.
I think doing it for yourself too. And then, because I've created a lot of records that were maybe to sell, like making records to sell records that I think people would like, which is like you're outward directing it. But the real beauty of artistry comes from like, what is it that you have to say and connecting with yourself.
100%.
And then that's way more fulfilling too. Let's say you do succeed at this music shit and you're like, man, I'm doing what I want to do. Versus like, I think a lot of people make it and they're like, man, I'm stuck. This is not the music I want to be doing, and, right? So like that's...
At the same time, we say this a lot too. Shout out to people who have a day gig that pays the bill and love music equally and are recording or writing every other chance they get. I mean, that's
because
also
the joy too. Like
life,
if you're creating from a place of joy and like just not the capitalist consumer way, then you're creating. People are going to resonate with that, right? Like I think, and then you get. And then it comes naturally.
You made it because you wanted to make it, which makes it better for the listener.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that might be something that I've thought about, which is, if music does become, my number one breadwinner in life, I don't ever want it to be something where the fun is gone, the love is gone, the happiness is gone, because now I'm depending on this to pay my bills.
Right.
But I do feel like we've got to get past you make music.
Right,
okay, what else do you do?
Yeah.
And the other question comes, like, what else do you do?
Yeah.
Because they're like, there's no way, like, that's what's
it's interesting
funding your life.
What you just said made me think of it's real after an artist makes it.
Yeah.
Then that business world has a ton of respect for that artist and their artistry. Right. And ironically enough, though, you've seen somebody make a really fire first album because it came, like, from their life and their heart and their soul. And then... the record label wants them to put out the sophomore album, and they're like, no. They're like, put it out. You're under contract. So then they drop the sophomore album, and it sucks because the first album took 15 years and 10 years of hurt
to create
it, and now they want you 15 minutes later to drop something just as fire, but it's like cooking at that point. You want me to put it in the microwave? Or do you want me to cook it and slow cook it?
I just think there's something.
That's why I don't own an air fryer.
Yeah,
I'm not buying nobody's air fryer. No offense to the air fryer community. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry, but I'm not cooking my salmon in 15 minutes. It's going in the oven.
No, it's for potatoes and shit.
Oh, gee.
But I do think there's like a cosmic thing that undescribable. Like when it's just. Hard to explain what makes a great album or a great record, and when things like just align and come together. There's really no explanation.
Some of it is natural. Some of it has to happen organically.
But like you do see a lot of artists, you're like, man, that project was so sick, but it stands alone. They can't get back to it. They spend their whole career chasing like that cosmic.
And that's that consistency part.
The consistency is incredibly hard.
Because you can consistently drop music, but
is it all good?
Back to the quality versus quantity. If you're consistently but that also goes back to, you know, a lot of these big artists who are just coming out and they just got signed, they have lost control of their creative process.
True. Some of them do have to do what they don't want to do under legal contracts. So you got a good point there.
So they've lost control of their creative process, and I think, you know, being able to be in control of what you're writing, if you're a writer, right? What you're writing, what you're singing, where you're singing, the production you're using, the studio you're recording at, the engineers that you're comfortable with, all of that is so important. Because, you know, if you're recording, the song can be fire, the lyrics can be fire, the production but if you're recording in a studio that you're not familiar with, or an engineer that you just don't like y'all recorded before, and you're just like
cold or something, when you can feel that, you can sometimes hear it and feel it.
Well, I mean, I hate to bring up Kanye, but I've been listening to some Kanye, and he's one of the, like, just the best records. When you think about iconic records, you almost feel like you're in the studio. That energy lives in that record. And I think that we have a responsibility. When you listen to a record and you're like, damn, this feels generic. It doesn't have the life of, like, they were hype in the studio. Like, everyone's like, holy shit. Like, when you have that and you create that and put it out, like, that energy lives on in the record for sure.
That's so important.
Yeah.
I saw an interview on Instagram where Rick Rubin was talking about helping the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And Under the Bridge, which is, like, one of their biggest hits, he was, like, a personal song that Anthony Kiedis, like, was just playing to himself, and Rick Rubin was like, what's that? You know, like, what is this? And it was unlike anything they had ever done previously. Like, their sound was totally, it changed the song changed their career and the trajectory of their career. But he kind of was like, this is fire though. So then he played it for his guitar player, or his buddy in his band, and they played it for the rest of the band, and then they wrote the rest of the song around this really personal, it was like about his drug addiction.
Queen, that reminds me of Queen.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you pay attention to, I can't remember what the name of that song is. Lord have mercy, it's playing in my head, but I can't think of it. Yeah. If you think about a lot of their music, even if like you watch the documentary, like, a lot of the songs came from them just hanging around and, like, letting whatever was there
come out.
Right. Totally. Instead of, like, I can't go sit down and be like, okay, I need to write a song today. Yeah. That's not how it happens.
It is such a skill, though, harnessing that, because there's a juxtaposition of, like,
pull it down,
being able to chill and just know that it's going to come, but also we're in positions where we need to create, or we need to perform, or we're put on the spot, and how do you merge the two? And it's really freaking hard to be, like, a beacon of creativity and function
at the same time,
and make a living or whatever. That's why there is the argument that it's like, do what you got to do to make your bread, and then let yourself just naturally be creative without having that part of it. So I think that's a
that's a question that we normally ask, and you already answered it. Is your creative process? I almost ask everybody. So how do you, like, do you sit and you write, or it sounds like you let life happen to you and then you take to a pen or something?
Hilariously, so, like, YFG, I wrote that in a 20-minute car ride.
What was the name of it?
YFG. Normally, a lot of my writing is voice memos. So I'll hear a word, or I'll be listening to some song, and, like, they say a word a certain way, and I'm like, and then I pause the music, and then I just start going. A lot of it is inspiration, or it'll just be so random. A melody will start playing in my head, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get my voice memo going, because if I don't like record it on the voice memo right then and there, it's gone.
I feel the same.
I forgot it.
I'll be listening to other hip hop, and it'll maybe even something that a rapper said. That'll make me think about something else. That'll make
completely different.
Yeah.
And it'll just
do you write a lot? Do you like journal? Do you poet? Do you like, because the first I met you last night with my boy, and the first thing we were like, yo, he was like, do you pen? Like, he was like, do you pen it out or do you punch in? Which was like the first question he asked you. Wow. You remember that?
Yeah.
I was like,
we were
what?
talking about me parking. I was like, I think I should move my car. And and so what I told them is, like, when I'm recording, for example, we're gonna go straight through the song like 5 times. I am not mispunching. Like, I can't do it. Shout out to LaFell at Soul Lab, but like, I'm not.
You don't want to punch.
I'm not mispunching.
Okay. I'm not mad.
At first,
I think that's more of a skill. One taking it is. We brag about that in hip hop. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like with R&B, man, it's such an emotionally coded genre, right? And so if, like, DNR, for example, if I'm recording a song that I wrote in such a deep emotional state, right? I need all those emotions to come through. For sure. For the whole thing, right?
So let me ask you this way. Even through the chorus, you do a verse, you do a chorus, you do a verse, and then let's say all you gotta do is the last chorus. You're like, oh, I fucked up. Fuck it. Take me to the top?
No, so like,
that's hardcore.
Dude, like, it normally works out. I'll go through the whole song. Beginning to end. And even if there is a moment like where I mess up or something or whatever have you, I'll just keep it. We'll just keep going.
That's
and call
awesome.
it a day.
Good for you. I'm telling myself. Sometimes I like doing verses in whole chunks, but if I stop at a hook or a verse or something, punch me in.
No, the only time I punch for real is if, like, let's say we do 5 takes. Usually it's 5 takes. 5 takes to the whole song. And I was like, maybe let me hear all those. We'll go back and listen to them all. And I feel like it's just a faster, not trying to rush the studio session, but like, it's just a quicker session because I'm sitting here trying to punch in this same word that I sang wrong.
Yeah, but you have to have a good engineer who you're tapped in with, because it's called comping. When you have multiple takes and you comp, basically you decide which take you like. So it's really common practice, like in pop music and R&B, where you'll have like a bunch of takes of phrases. Like, you can run through the whole thing, but each phrase we're deciding which one's the best one. That's why you're saying your relationship with your engineer is crucial at that point, because they need to be able to hear, okay, we want a harmony. I mean, are you doing layers? I mean, I'm sure there's probably harmonies.
It first starts off with the 5 just to get the bass. And then we go back with ads, and then we might come in with another section of ads, and we just like keep it going, because what I wanted, I just want it to be organic. It needs to be organic, you know, and endlessly. That's what I call my ballad per se. That one, I did 1 session, and it was so stressful. I didn't come back and finish recording that song for another 5 months.
No way.
Like,
you're over it.
Yeah, my engineer and my producer were in there, and I was just like, I'm over this.
Sometimes I was like, I'm done. Feel like putting a jigsaw puzzle together.
I was like, I'm so over it.
You're missing some pieces.
But the best records, I hate to say it, but like an hour, 2 hours, you're like, we're done.
Not always.
I think a lot of times, like, in my experience with creativity, when you're flowing, like, even as a producer, like as a beat maker, as soon as I'm like getting like bogged down, I'm like, this is it. I got to move on to something else, because there's a skill set of like pushing through, but there's also an understanding that sometimes the more you work on something, the more it gets.
The worse it gets. I was in there throwing like little temper tantrums, I'm telling you. And for me, like I said, voice memos are my thing. So like if I'm in the booth and I record it, like I wrote a song or something, and the voice memo is a certain way. That's how I wrote it. And so that's how I want to record it. I'm not mad. And so if there's like any like, you know what I mean? Now I'm like,
okay, so.
And I have to push through that part.
One more time now. January. You said January?
Yeah.
You're dropping the single, and then it's called
Son of the Moon.
Son of the Moon. All right. Any other projects that we absolutely need to know about today on the
performances?
No.
Or performances.
No, not really.
But you're gonna come sing with me and Muse, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Zoe Salaai.
Yes.
Yeah, so-
2 A's, 1 I.
But Zoe, are you down to sing for us? For our listeners?
I am.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's do it.
For our listeners.
I said listener.
Oh, I thought you said
No.
glistener.
I said glistener?
Listeners too.
Oh, I'm not mad.
I mean, but that could be like a cute.
That's a new thing.
Our glistener?
Our listeners don't just listen; they glisten.
Oh, man.
They're glowing.
I'm a little
Okay, but that was
Why are you making fun of me? I gotta know.
that was nice though. I like it.
I can't even
Thanks
know.
You gotta use it.
We might.
Season 2, episode 5, we found the new lingo for the listeners.
Glisten. I love it.
The glisteners.
Awesome. We have fun. Me and Eli be having fun.
As you should. All of it should be fun and entertaining. Yeah. There's no need for a prescription. Yeah. No use for intervention. It's a final decision. Did you hear me when I mentioned you can't run from all the things that you do? There's no other way to heal from every bruise. They said our love is deep. I think we took it too damn far. There ain't no going back when that line runs flat. Just like your name in my heart. They said our love is deep. They said our love is deep in our heart. There's not a soul that can save you. No doctor to give you good news. You are the furthest thing from the truth. I guess you didn't hear me when I said to you, you can't run from all the things that you do. There's no other way to heal from every bruise. They said our love is deep. I think we took it too damn far. There ain't no going back when that line runs flat. Just like your name in my heart. They said our love is deep in our heart. Hey, they said our love is deep in our heart. Hey, yeah. Oh. Was that good?
Yeah, one take. You weren't joking.